Work together to find the enemy agents in the deck. This is our review of Infiltrators.
Infiltrators is a cooperative deduction game about figuring out the suspect cards, and I couldn't wait until it was my turn to use the little golden gun.
I really enjoyed this deduction game, especially how it made the co-op mechanic more fun. We'll tell you all about it after this quick how to play. The game is played over 20 missions, with each mission increasing in difficulty.
Players start each mission with a hand of cards, suspect cards, and bullets, or guesses.
On each player's turn, they can pick up a suspect card that only they will see, or they can get or give information about a suspect.
In order to give or get information about a card, a player will play a card from their hand face up next to a suspect card.
The player that knows the suspect will turn the card vertical if it matches, or horizontal if it does not match the suspect.
A card matches if it's the same suit, number, a multiple, or a factor of the suspect number.
When a player guesses a suspect card, right or wrong, they turn in a bullet.
If the bullets run out before all the suspects have been guessed, everyone loses the mission.
If all the suspects are guessed correctly before the bullets run out, everyone wins. We were sent a copy of Infiltrators from the publisher so that we could do this review video.
If you'd like to find out more information or to buy a copy of the game, check out the links in our description below.
Infiltrators is a deduction game so that you're going to have cards that are hidden and only one player will know who the cards are. And they're suspect cards and they look like this, but really they're just numbers. And you're trying to figure out what the number and what color or the suit is. So this is a yellow gun and it's a 4. So if this was a suspect and I knew it, I would know it was a yellow gun 4 and I'd have to give out information, or other players would have to get information from me to figure out what card that is. I really enjoyed deduction games, and with it being a co-op game, it kind of lessened my dislike for co-op games because you couldn't really quarterback. You could still have a little bit of quarterbacking, but if it's my card, I can't help everybody else figure out my card because I'm not supposed to say anything about my card. So I just have to sit there going, oh, normally I'd be quarterbacking so hard right now. Why can't they figure out all the clues I'm giving?
The cooperative nature, I think, is really helpful to people who are just new to the game or have played it for a while, because we're all learning together. Whether it's mission 1 or the next mission or the later ons, you can have that person. I wouldn't even call them, and it's not quarterbacking and I wouldn't call it that, but you can be like, yeah, you can teach too. You're like, oh, all right, well, you can talk out loud. Like, I know it's this and I know it could be that, but I think it might be this or this about other people. Obviously, don't like be obvious about what yours is, but you can help other people learn the train of thought. Like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Now I'm getting it and it's clicking. And once it clicks, I think that's like the sweet spot for these deduction games, especially when we're all working together. It's like, okay, yeah, so this has to be a 4. And we're like, yes, that's right. Get 'em.
So the mission elements of the game is kind of similar to The Crew, if you've ever played that. This is not a trick-taking game, so it's not like The Crew in that way. It's just like The Crew in that there are missions. So you have one mission and it changes the parameters of what you're going after. There's also flavor text and story here, but if you just want to focus on the fun deduction element, what you need to know is that you're going to increase the number of suspects that you have to guess in different missions. You'll decrease the number of bullets, so possible guesses you have, but then you'll also have tiles of when you need to guess those players. So just like in The Crew, where you have to get certain numbers in certain tricks and certain orders, you'll have to guess certain suspects in certain order as they're chosen by the different players. You can also have the finger, so only certain players can get information or guess from certain other players. So you have to organize, all right, remember, when it gets to your turn, you got to do this and get information from them. Or just because you have a good card that may work on that player over there, you may not be able to use it on that player over here. So there are a lot of different elements that are added as you're playing the mission. So even if you're playing the very first mission, you're like, man, this is really difficult. Guess what? It gets even more difficult because there are 20 missions.
I think that's speaking to the variety and just the progression as you go through missions. It gets harder and harder and you're like, oh, okay, we beat that challenge. Now we're going to do this new mission. Okay, how much harder is it? What am I learning new about it? Like how can we work together as a team to just find these suspects or these infiltrators?
And another fun thing about deduction games is if you're playing it and it's not cooperative, then it's all about how smart are you, how quickly can you deduce the different things. When you're playing cooperatively, it's all about who you're working with, because not only is it like, oh, I can figure these things out, but if the player who has a suspect and they don't really know great information, to go, oh, I'm going to give this information, like, okay, yeah, but we knew that already just from the element of process of elimination or other things, like the card you just played wasn't helpful, so now you just wasted a turn, so now we just keep going. There's no direct time limit. However, as you're playing, if players want to get more cards, they have to turn a card off the deck face down. And when you're looking at the discard pile, you can see the cards that you've gotten rid of for process of elimination. But if you played a card face down when you drew more cards, you can't look at those. And when you run out of those cards, eventually you won't be able to take that action anymore. So you'll be stuck with guessing. So it's not a time limit, but it will become, all right, we're out of cards. Now we have to guess. In which case, now our time limit is how many bullets do we have? We can't guess incorrectly. So it's an indirect timer for when that mission ends. And I feel like the players you're playing with can make that more or less difficult.
As you're learning the game or as you're playing with people who are learning the game, yeah, you're going to hit those moments where it's like, I'm giving you this information. And then everyone's just like, I'm sorry.
Are you serious right now? Are you serious?
I mean, like, that's going to be okay. I guess the one thing is just you don't want to be trigger happy. Like, yep, I think it's that one. And then, Lee, stop. You're wasting all our bullets. Stop it. Like, no more guessing for you. Like, I would say that's probably the one, like, wild card or the one thing where you could quarterback or just be like, no, it's your turn. You're allowed to do these. You're not allowed to guess anymore. But I know it. I feel it this time. It's like, no.
The game also comes with a whiteboard player aid, and then the other side is a marker that you can cross off when you figure out, okay, it's not that suit, it's not that suit, it's not these numbers. The game also recommends that as you play it for a little while to try to not use these to make it more difficult in playing with just using your head and just trying to remember, so you're not sitting there going process of elimination. Oh, we've crossed everything off. Lee must have the red 2 because of this. No, you just have to think, remember, all right, what were the cards? Oh yeah, Lee has a red 2. So I do think that that's fun. Like, you do have that crutch in the beginning of, all right, here's what you can do. Here's marking off the suspects. All right, now try not using that.
You know, I like how just everything flows together. The theme, the mechanics, like it's a noir, espionage type thing, and you're trying to find them, but you're working together as like one organization trying to find them. So just how they melded everything together is what I like.
There's not a whole lot that comes with it. It's a small box game, but there's still a lot that goes into it as far as figuring everything out. So you have the decks of cards, which has different suits, but how many suits are you going to play with in this mission? How many different variables are you going to play with? How many bullet guesses are you going to have? So I really appreciate that it's a fun deduction game, and there's a lot of variability to it. What did you not like about the game?
So it's not that I didn't like this at all. I know it's an element of the game, but it's just when you're giving information or you're trying to assess the information and you're like turning it vertical or sideways to see if it matches, there's a little cheat sheet when it came to like multiples or factors. And there's even a cheat sheet here. And I was always like, wait, okay, so if I see that number on there, then it's a match, or it's like, I, for some reason, just couldn't keep that straight in my head. So I had to keep asking, like, wait, so remind me again, like if I see it, look at this, right? And then, okay, got it.
As you go through the 20 missions, it can feel a little repetitive. There is variability, but it is always going after, all right, figure out the suspects, have the deduction. All right, this time I can only go this way. Okay, well, that's a little bit different, but it's still doing the same thing. I just feel like sometimes some of these missions weren't that different that they couldn't have just been a combined mission, or they couldn't have come up with a whole bunch of different ways to do it. Now they may have an expansion coming out. You can do a whole lot with this. I can see this going in a whole lot of directions depending on what you add, what you take away, how you mix things up. I just feel like the base game, after a while, you might just be like, okay, I see this mission. Let's skip ahead. Okay, let's go with that mission.
I like how everything just comes together with the theming, the mechanics, how we're like trying to help each other and give information, but also not like give up too much information and cheat, I guess, with the information we give, because I just imagine we're all like spies or we're part of the CIA or something. So if we didn't have this review copy, I'd go out and buy the game.
Overall, I really enjoyed this game. I really like deduction games. And I feel like if you really like deduction games, you should definitely check this one out. I'd have to say that this is one of my favorite Pandasaurus games we've played in a long time. And that was our review of Infiltraitors.
What'd you think? Are you I-spying this for your game night? Let us know in the comments below.
Once again, we'd like to thank the publisher for sending us a copy so that we could do this review video. And as always, if you're enjoying our content, please like this video, subscribe to our channel.
Until next time, I'm Lee.
I'm Kenny, and go party like a board gamer.